Alex here with a video on high conflict child custody. The topic is going to be the state versus your ex. I just got through 2 efforts of trying to do this video in a way where I explained the reasons as to why things work the way they do, and it just isn't going to work. It's just going to cause a lot of controversy and a lot of chaos, possibly in the comments, or I'm going to get a bunch of messages on it. So I'm just going to tell you the way it works, and I'll let you draw your own conclusions as to why. Or you could do your own research and try and figure it out for yourself. So there is a different series of principles and perspectives that the government takes in when the government is trying to curtail your parental rights personally. So like as in through Child Protective Services or Department of Family Services. And the government's perspective and the series of principles that apply when your ex is trying to do the same thing. When the government is trying to curtail your parental rights, a bunch of extra constitutional protections will trigger, and they will have to show abuse and neglect of your child. In other words, they have to prove you as an unfit parent. The burden of proof is usually higher. It's usually clear and convincing evidence instead of just preponderance. And as I mentioned, they have to show abuse and neglect and that you're unfit. When your ex comes into court and tries to do the same thing, none of that applies. And I see people thinking that, oh, you have to show me as unfit and all this stuff. Nope. No. The perspective is different here. When it's your ex and you in court on complaint for divorce or on a petition to establish child custody and visitation, they no longer have to show that you are abusing and neglecting the child. They have to show the best interests of the child, which can include abuse and neglect if they can show it, but it doesn't have to. You know, if they can show that it's in the best interest of the child, for the child to live primarily with them or any of that other stuff, then that's enough to do it. They also don't have to show it by clear and convincing evidence, which is the higher standard that I previously mentioned. They only have to show it by preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower standard. So the last thing I'm going to explain is the perspective. In this case, the government is of the perspective that it's acting as a mediator between the two of you. So you both have the same parental rights, and the government is there to decide how those parental rights are going to be distributed. So obviously you can't say something like, the kids are going to live with you both whenever you decide is best. Because if there's an abusive person, they're just going to say you can't see the kids, or they're going to come up with lies, and you're going to have one person who doesn't have any rights. Even though they have rights on paper, they're not going to actually have any parental rights because the other person's not going to let them have them. So that's one example of how the government steps in and says, the kids are going to live with you on these days, the kids are going to live with you on those days. You know, that's just an example of the government stepping in and mediating the way those parental rights work out. And obviously, each of you is going to have a reduction in your parental rights, because otherwise that leaves the door open for one of those people to just have all of the parental rights and the other person does not have any. So with that, I will go ahead and, well, I'll cover one extra thing. If anyone gets a chance, look around for that article on the mom who was put in jail for not vaccinating her kids, and read it carefully and you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. She wasn't actually put in jail for not vaccinating her kids. What happened was that she and her ex had split up, that they had proceedings that were instituted between them, and that they had a difference of opinion. The mom said, I don't want my kids to be vaccinated. The dad said, I do want my kids to be vaccinated. And so what you have here is a case where 2 people have the same parental rights. They both have the parental right to make that decision. The problem is they disagree. And so the government isn't coming in and saying, you should vaccinate your kids, and since you're not doing that, you're going to jail. What the government is doing is it's coming in and it's saying, I need to mediate your parental rights. You both have a different opinion. I'm going to consider the best interest of the child factors. In this case, I'm deciding that you will vaccinate your kids. And then when the mom decided not to do it, she's not being put in jail for not vaccinating her kids. She's being put in jail for contempt of court. She's violating the court's order as to how those parental rights were supposed to play out. I know consequently it has to do with vaccines, and so in a way it can look like that's what it was. But that's a completely different situation from the government just going up to any random couple who's together, who both agree and saying, since you didn't vaccinate your kids, I'm throwing you in jail. It's just a whole different situation. And the reason I bring up that article is because it's a really good example of a mom who's thinking to herself, my parental rights are being infringed on, and I'm being put in jail because my parental rights won't, are not being recognized regarding my kid's vaccination. Well, the dad has those parental rights too. He has the same parental rights you have. You guys couldn't agree. So now what? You don't just automatically win just because the issue is vaccines. No, it doesn't work like that. So anyway, hopefully this video gets the point across. I was going to explain a lot more, but it just isn't going to work because it's going to just open up a massive can of worms. And so with that, I'm just going to end this video, let people draw their own conclusions as to why things are that way. There's some cases in the Supreme Court that kind of explain it. With that, I'll go ahead and end this video. Feel free to put anything in the comments if you really insist on talking about some of the details, or you can send me a message if you want it to be more private. I'll see you guys next time.